Don't you know what to do with so much sourdough? Today in this video I'm going to show you an easy and simple bread recipe with just 4 ingredients. Welcome and thank you for coming back to my vegan lifestyle and cooking channel, the Heirloom for Cuisine. Today in this video, I'm going to share with you an easy and simple bread recipe with 80% wheat flour and 20% rye flour. I took this recipe and suggestions in proportions from Ben Star with a little modification in salt. I reduced the amount of salt because I have tried a couple loaves before and they turned a little salty. So I'm making the same recipe with less salt. I want to show you with this video how easy and simple it is to make your own bread. Literally, you need 1 minute of kneading your dough. And the message for today, if you're vegan, I'm so proud of you. If you're not, start right now a vegan lifestyle. Stop animal cruelty and contamination to the environment. Cook more at home. By cooking more at home, you are more sustainable. You reduce solid waste you generate in your house by avoiding food packaging and disposables. Create your meals responsibly. And very important, you know the ingredients of the food you're eating, the food you're giving to your family. Follow me on Instagram for more ideas of how I can contribute every day to improve the health of our planet and short recipes. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be the first in receiving these easy and simple recipes. Now let's continue with the recipe: sourdough bread with 4 ingredients: wheat flour, rye flour, salt, and water. To be successful when making sourdough bread, we have to be faithful to the proportions of the base ingredients such as dry and liquid ingredients. Find all the ingredients for this recipe in the description box of this video. It is important to be organized in the kitchen to use time and resources properly. Keep utensils that you're going to use for the recipe handy. Take the scale and weigh the bowl that you're going to use to mix the ingredients and set it to 0. We're going to weigh the starter. For this recipe, we will use 4 ounces of sourdough starter or 20% of the amount of flour we use in any bread recipe. The water will be 50% of the recipe, which will be 10 ounces, a little more than double of the amount of starter. The first step is to weigh the sourdough and the water, then mix well until the sourdough dissolves very well. I have kept this sourdough for 30 days. The first 10 days I feed it daily and keep it at room temperature. Sometimes I have to discard sourdough to continue feeding. In the link above, you find recipes with the sourdough discard. Don't throw it. You can make day-to-day recipes with the sourdough discard. So after feeding the sourdough weekly, then I put it in the fridge and then I feed it once a week. For this recipe, I took it out of the fridge yesterday, a day ago, and fed it as usual. Then I left it at room temperature. At the end of this video, I'm sharing with you how I started my sourdough starter. As mentioned, this recipe I took it from Ben Star. I'm making a little modification in salt and water. I am trying in this recipe 50% hydration and half salt. This is my second try. The first one I made it with whole wheat flour instead of all-purpose flour and it got very dense. I commented on his video and he suggested to divide the dough and mix it with new dough with the same proportions of ingredients. The proportion of flour that we're going to use, it is 80% unbleached organic wheat flour, and which is 16 ounces of flour, and 20% organic rye flour, that is 4 ounces. Every time I weigh the ingredients, I set the scale to 0 and I don't get confused. So total amount of flour is 20 ounces. The salt that I'm going to use in this recipe is just 1 teaspoon. Ben Starr advises using only 20% of whole wheat flour in sourdough recipes to have a good volume, but you can experiment with different type of flour and keep your own sourdough dairy. Go ahead and make your own bread. You are more sustainable, you reduce solid waste, and it helps you strengthen your baking skills as well as your self-esteem. Well, as promised, literally integrate the ingredients well and knead for 1 minute. You don't need to knead more. If you want, you can give a good 5-minute massage to the dough, but it is not necessary. Store your dough at room temperature on the kitchen counter for 24 hours. Use a well-greased Ziploc bag or grease bowl with a lid or cover with a little oil or foil. Before storing your sourdough, feed it again. I have about 2 tablespoons left and I'm going to feed with doubled ingredients. 2 tablespoons of flour and 2 tablespoons of water. I see that my sourdough is a bit thick, then I'm going to add another tablespoon of water. I will leave it for 24 hours at room temperature and then I will transfer to the fridge to continue feeding each week. The next day, I couldn't bake the bread, so I put it in the fridge for 1 day and then I left it out on the counter for 3 hours. This is how the dough looks after this time. According to experts in sourdough, you can leave it even longer in the fridge and it acquires better flavor due to the slow fermentation process. In this step, you don't need to knead the dough, just make 5 inward folds and reshape the dough to a ball. Use a clean cloth and sprinkle a good amount of flour so it does not stick and transfer to the mold you want to shape the dough. I use this mold because I want to give a slightly oval shape. You can totally use a rectangular mold and bake as usual, but you will need less time. Let it rest for 4 to 6 hours and it is ready to bake. I'm going to use the same mold to bake this bread, so I take the dough out carefully, taking care not to spoil the air bubbles inside, and put it back inside the mold. Score the dough to allow bread to rise more comfortably. Scissors are fine to score the dough. If you have a better tool, go for it. It is advisable to bake this bread in a Dutch oven. Since I don't have one, I found this white pot with a lid. This bread will bake wonderfully in a regular rectangular mold too. Put the Dutch oven, if you have one, or a cast iron pot with lid works well too, in the oven at 500 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 20 minutes. I put this pot for 15 minutes because the walls are not very thick. I put a rack in the bottom of it to allow heat to circulate evenly. Place it in the preheat oven and reduce the temperature to 450 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 30 minutes. After this time, remove the lid and let it turn golden brown for 15 more minutes at 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Alright, this bread is fully baked. Avoid cutting or handling the bread while it's hot. Let it rest for at least 15 minutes and then you can cut it. I know a sourdough recipe is easy to get nowadays. I just wanted to show you with this video that you don't need extraordinary skills to make your own bread at home. Stay a little longer. I have 3 easy toasts for you to make for breakfast or for snacks. Leave me your comments about this recipe and tell me about your experiences if you decide to make your own bread and be more sustainable in your house. Remember to get your food from companies and places that do not allow animal cruelty or animal sacrifices and are friendly to the environment. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so to be the first one in receiving these simple and delicious recipes. Like, comment and share. Stay until the end of this video because I'm sharing my experiences on how to start and maintain your own sourdough. In the link above, you will find a recipe to make cassava empanadas or dumplings. Super easy. You don't need extraordinary tools to make these amazing dumplings. Enjoy! Thank you for watching this video until the end. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like, comment and share, and I hope you're cleaning, reducing, avoiding the solid waste you generate in your house. Bye bye.